If you asked me 2 years ago, do you think in 2022 you're gonna go back to Worlds as a 63 and win? I would say, you are out of your mind. But here we are.
Is that good? You approve? It's my head judge.
My first powerlifting competition was 6 years ago, and I've powerlifted ever since then. However, the past 10 months I've only been powerlifting. So the 5 years before that, I was doing a lot of other athletic endeavors along with powerlifting. I played soccer in college. When I graduated, I knew that being active and moving was part of my identity, and so I found running. And I went deep into marathons and endurance sports. And by the way, the time I found powerlifting, I think I ran 10 marathons and I did 3 Ironmans. Going into 2017, I did a meet down in New Jersey. Gino was announcing that meet, and he literally said afterwards to me, "So you're going to go to nationals, right?" And I said, "Huh?" Like, I don't think I'm good enough to go to nationals. Like, I'm just here for fun, Gino. He was like, "No, you should go." And I said, "All right, maybe." At the time, so this was 2017, we were kind of thinking about having a baby. And Gino basically convinced me not to. And I ended up going to nationals in 2017 in Orlando, and it was my first nationals. And I did okay. I came in 5th, and it was at that point that I knew that I had potential to be great at it, but not just great for myself, one of the greatest in the world. And that was something that I knew I wanted to chase down. I'm gonna sound so easily convinced by people at meets. Okay, so at 2017 Nationals, someone came up to me and said, "Have you ever tried weightlifting?" It's the truth. So I started weightlifting at a local gym, and I was basically just trying to combine my powerlifting programming with the weightlifting program. 2018 Nationals was a great success. As a 57, I ended up winning, so I qualified for Worlds in 2019. I competed in AO1, which was my first national level weightlifting meet. I had 1 day off, I think, in between, and then I competed in powerlifting at the Grand Prix, and I had a tremendous meet. So it was a great warm-up. See, this just leads into me doing more meets. I did a powerlifting meet, the next weekend I did a half marathon. What was wrong with me? I honestly love training, and I love competing, and I love working out, and I love moving. So for me, it's very fun. Looking back at it, do I think it probably sacrificed some of my strength? Yes. But in the moment, I was living my best life, so it didn't matter. And I think that's the important piece though, right? I do think that unless you are enjoying what you're doing, it's probably not worth it. And I was so fully invested in enjoying what I was doing that it was 100% worth it. And I wouldn't change the Arnold. I might change the weightlifting meet that I did before Worlds 2 weeks out, but So at 2019 Worlds, I came in 2nd, and although I was happy with my day, I knew that I needed to come back to Worlds. I felt like I was supposed to be there, but I had more to prove to myself. So I kind of promised myself that I would get back to Worlds someday. After Worlds, I committed to going to a 63 weight class, and I went to 2019 Nationals and did okay, but didn't place high enough to get to Worlds. I mentioned before that years prior, before I went to my first Nationals, that we were thinking about having children, and then I was influenced to go to my first Nationals in 2017, so we put it off because I thought once I have children, I'm probably not going to continue competing at this level. When I didn't place high enough in 2019 to go to Worlds, I said, I want to do the Arnold one more time, have a lot of fun, and then let's have a baby, because that's what a normal person would say, because they don't think they're going to have babies. But after that meet, 2 weeks after everything shut down, I was pregnant. Didn't know at this point I was going to have twins, but knew we were going to have a baby. So I thought when I was pregnant in general that I would still be active, I would still work out, just do whatever, which is true. My training changed pretty tremendously. I stopped weightlifting pretty early on just because it wasn't comfortable. I kept the powerlifting movements in, but it was much more functional as well. I got to my 36-week and like 5-day appointment or something, and I started to show signs of HELP, which is something associated with pregnancy, right? I started to be induced on a Tuesday, and let me tell you, these babies didn't want to come out. So I was there Tuesday, I was there Wednesday, and my labs were tanking, and my doctor was very open with me the whole time. She knew my goal. My goal was to have the babies as, this is gonna sound nuts because I know that I was having twins, but like I didn't even want an epidural if I didn't need to have one. As we were going along, they showed no signs of showing up anytime soon, and unfortunately, I was getting sicker and sicker, and my doctor kind of made a call that we can try for another 5 hours, but you need to deliver, because that's the only basically cure to what's happening to your body. So I had an emergency C-section. It was a very strange experience and a very strange way to meet your babies, but at the end of the day, all I wanted to have was 2 healthy babies. So I know I mentioned before I got pregnant I was okay with competing for fun. So my mind wasn't necessarily, when I had a C-section, on how am I gonna get back to lifting 400 pounds again. And it wasn't until I started training again that I thought about the implications of having a C-section might have. It's funny to think about now that I was like rolling sideways off the bench. Because one of the first things you can do is work out your arms, right? So I'm dumbbell benching or barbell benching, and I'm literally rolling off sideways, trying to not twist, because otherwise you get incision pain, right? So as I closed in on 2021 Nationals, and I started to load heavier weights, was when I started thinking like, do I trust my body as much as I used to trust my body? I'm not sure. And I was a little unconvinced going into Nationals that I trusted my body to the same degree to load as much weight on my back. I ended up hurting myself and finished out the meet, came in second. I didn't have a bad day. I wasn't far off my PR total at 57. The worst time for me was actually after that Nationals. Doing anything was pretty hard. And when you have small children, they need to be carried everywhere. And so like picking my children up off the ground was hard. And it made me question everything. Like, is training worth it? Because if I can't move my children around, if I can't be here for them, that defeats the whole purpose. The purpose of training for me and competing now has changed a little bit. Now it's still like, I guess the belief behind it's the same, right? It still makes me a better person, but now it's making me a better person for them. But if at the end of the day I can't pick them up or move, it's not fulfilling that. And I never had to worry about that before, right? That wasn't a thought in my brain. I was still running and doing other workouts that I felt confident in, and then working with my coach now on specifically squatting and deadlifting differently so I wouldn't get injured and that I wouldn't be in pain while I was doing it. So I ran a half marathon last fall, and that's when I decided for sure it wasn't for me. I enjoyed the training. I loved training for it. Got to the race and it didn't bring me the same joy. I was already working with Kelly, who's my coach, just on form, and I wasn't in pain. So I had sprinklings of ideas in my head of maybe I can do this and not be in pain. She said to me and asked me questions like, I see you do weightlifting. You know, I see you do these CrossFit workouts. I see you running. Like, what the heck are you doing? And at the time, I was very honest and said, I have no idea. I'm just trying to find something and not be in pain. As we went forward, she also asked, you know, what do you like more? And I said, I don't know, I kind of like both. And she said, what are you better at? And I said, well, I'm better at powerlifting. And she kind of just said to me, you can do whatever you want, but if you want to be your best and you want to be great, you should probably choose one. And it was the first, this will sound silly, but it was the first time someone had said that to me in such just a succinct way. Like, it sounds simple, but also made me think that it was what I needed to hear. That kind of was the nail in the coffin that I decided to compete in a meet in December, which was like 6 weeks away at the time. The end goal for me was if I could do that meet and hit my three things, stay healthy, push myself, and have fun, that I wanted to fulfill what I told myself in 2019, which was getting back to Worlds. So I did the meet in December. It went very well. I had a lot of fun. I PR'd my total. I cried and then decided to keep doing it. We started to train for PA Nats and hoped to put up a healthy total at PA Nats because I was building momentum pretty well. I achieved the goal that I went there for, which was to qualify for Worlds in South Africa. What I've realized is that before, I think I was trying to do everything in hopes that I could be the best or the best for myself at something. And what I was missing is that sometimes by doing less, you're actually doing more. And by allowing myself to do less, I've been able to make huge gains in powerlifting that I wasn't able to make before. I knew that my training leading into South Africa, like my performance could be much greater than what people expected me to do because I was building a lot of momentum. So I was very excited about it. Going into the meet itself, my mindset was very different. I mean, in comparison to 2019, I'm a much different person than I was then. And in 2019, my identity was probably a little bit too much caught up into powerlifting itself. And if I did not do well, then that hurt me as like a person and my self-confidence and my self-worth, right? Since then, I've grown a lot as a person, and now I see it as an opportunity. I see that platform and competition as an opportunity to grow, and powerlifting is something that I do. It's something that I care a lot about, but it's not who I am as a person. It's only going to bring me growth and opportunity. And I think that because of my shift in mindset, it's led me to see success in this past year.